Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life.
Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here. And Samantha Pruitt. What's up, my beautiful humans?
Good morning.
Hi,
Good morning. Hey, you guys. So,
What do you mean, good morning? The sun is setting.
Oh, well, that could be a sunrise. People, well, I guess that is the West Coast. So, yeah. So, what we're laughing at, Samantha and I are recording this on a Zoom. And so we have little backdrops. So, if you're listening to this, you're like, what are they talking about, sunset? But yeah. So, you're in the Grand Canyon and I'm at the beach.
Exactly. And we also didn't plan that we were both going to be wearing our Trans Rockies race shirts. We did not plan that. That's hilarious. And you're drinking out of your Morro Bay 70.3 mug. We have matching mugs. I mean, and we're in totally different places with our brown glasses on. This is how connected energy works. All these things that are not planned are just unfolding, and it happens every day. And it's part of our topic today that we're going to discuss, which is
gratitude and grace.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. This was your idea and I love it. So one of the things that, I don't know, I know you listen to a lot of podcasts and I have too. And there's some podcasts that are so scripted and so well done because the person puts clearly hours of research into it and hours of writing, and they get all these beautiful words and then they just read it beautifully.
Well, they have a team, darling, of a dozen or more people behind them, professional. I mean, we have each other, which is even way better, by the way. So you got a lot of skills, girl.
Well, what I'm saying is this episode is probably the most just hit record. Like this
Impromptu.
This what you're going to get today is the most just hit record, because often we get together and we talk about what we're going to talk about before we talk about it, if you know what I mean. And we just said hit record. Like we're going to spend half an hour having beautiful conversation and it should all go in the recording. So you guys are going to get the raw and real today, which is we don't really even know where it's going, but the content, the topic is so inspiring to each of us, especially you with what you've been through recently with your brother. So that's where it's birthed from, the idea. And I want you to open us up with that, and then we'll see where this goes with our listeners.
Well, the cool thing about our style is we riff a lot, and we do research and read and all these things, but our entire library, and this will continue to be the case, comes from our real life experiences. Either we are personally experiencing it and it absolutely bubbles up, genuine, authentic, real time, or we're experiencing it with a coaching client, another human. So again, it's humans out experiencing things. And then we come to the table and we dialogue and unpack and explore all of that raw humanity on the podcast. So to me, this is why we're even doing it. If we have one listener and they feel connected to us in a way that changes their physical, spiritual, emotional life, winning.
Yeah. And that's what Everyday Awesome Project is for us too. It's like us putting our slant, our spin. Because one thing I heard you say when we were preparing for this, and you'll tell the story of where you've been for the past week, caring for your brother, but it's like you are helping him see the moments that gratitude exists or something to appreciate, right? And that's where that's who we are. Like that's the reflection we are to the world. Like in the world, we show up as doing our best.
Gratitude and grace.
Yeah,
Gratitude
doing our
and
best
grace.
to be that. Yeah. And it's just like we can all do this, we can all be this. And so tell us about where you've been this past week and what's going on over in your world, my dear.
Yeah. So we're talking about gratitude and grace, and we'll start with gratitude. But the backstory about what I'm up to right now and why this is so pertinent for me is I am spending the week with my brother. My brother is in cancer treatment, and he's been so for 4 months, but it was a long journey. So 6 months before that, just trying to understand what was going on. He also has an underlying autoimmune disease, so it took us a long time to kind of figure that out, and I do too. So talking and doctors and all this stuff, and down the path to discovery, unfortunately, that there is also a cancer disease state that had set in to his body. So now he's been in treatment for 4 months. I've been coming and going and trying to partake in whatever way to support him and his wife on this incredibly difficult journey. And so this week, being here with him, and it's been like this before, but like there's a progression, right? So at this point, obviously, he's deep into his treatment. So he's losing a lot of weight. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering that's going on. And so, in spending time with him, and he's the most amazing person. And so, when I think of grace, literally, this man just exemplifies that walking
Mm,
around in the world. He gives so
mm,
much grace to everyone in his
mm,
space. So, it's interesting for me to watch him and learn from his example. Not that I'm horrible at it, but I could be better at providing grace for the people
mm.
around who are providing him care, who are just, offering kindness. They have a incredible friend group that they call it the A team, by the way. Their
Oh,
friend group is the A team. Oh
perfect.
my gosh, I know. So watching and witnessing and partaking, my role has been not only to help do research and around the science of, and the healing modalities and the different things we can try to ease some of the suffering, but to bring about awareness and create really a space, an elevated space beyond his already existing awareness to what is so beautiful, and to have
Mm,
gratitude for these little micro moments. And
mhm,
they're very small things, but it's like sitting and having a cup of coffee out on the patio. They live with some mountain trails nearby, and looking at the trails and listening to the birds. He's a big bike rider, big outdoorsman. He's not able to do these things right now, but he can be out in nature
mhm,
still.
mhm.
And so things like that. Or like I helped him discover a new coffee shop nearby. And then we went out and had a little date, right? And we sat on the patio and we had a gluten-free muffin. They made gluten-free muffins. He's gluten-free also.
Mm,
So you wouldn't believe the joy that came out of splitting this gluten-free muffin. I mean, we took an
mm,
hour to eat a muffin. And we just we're like, "Whoa,"
mm,
So it's little things like that, and,
mm.
yeah, just creating awareness and space for the people that you love and for yourself.
And I think, I don't know, there's so many podcasts I've listened to in the science of how the energetic state of the mind can helps the healing of the body, right? And so
100%.
I mean, there's movies I've watched where, people have had some miraculous recovery happen because they put themselves only in a state of low stress, gratitude practices, calmness, like not like pushing out away from their space, their energy, anything that could create stress or tension or resistance in their body. And you being there as holding the container and the cup for like, healing, like let's get the healing vibration. Let's allow it to heal, right? Because the body knows what to do. It's us,
Mhm.
we just don't let those outward things, if you will, interact with it. And so we just create this container, this space for his body to heal. Yeah.
Yeah, we've really looked at, what's on the television and what kind of noise is coming into the room.
Yeah.
So, news has been turned off. Like, it's all of these things that
Yeah.
in no way are serving his physical or emotional state. And there is a lot of tension, fear, anxiety in the body when it is fighting a disease. And while
Mm,
I was here, and I'm very grateful that I was here, he ended up contracting another secondary infection. We had to go to ER. He's currently in the hospital as we speak. And so all of those things, like the body is trying to heal, but it's bumping into things.
yeah.
And so you want to, as much as possible, even us on our daily, as we're healthy individuals currently, allow that body to be not burdened with
Mm,
additional resistance,
yeah.
additional load that is coming from your external environment.
Mhm, mhm,
So important. And so it is really amazing to have these conversations, and he's so open and so about this.
mm,
But a lot of people out there, our listeners possibly, or people that they are friends and family with, don't have this awareness. So the number one step to creating grace and gratitude in your life is having awareness.
mm,
What does it
mm.
even mean? What does it look like? How can I find it? Because it's just there waiting.
Something that's interesting that there's all these little ideas that popped in my head when you were talking. One of them is so I have a daily gratitude practice in my morning routine, right?
Mhm.
Where what helps with that, so there's like five things I want to say about that, but one of the things is as I think back to in like the coaching or the prompting, if you will. I listen to this prompting that's like, remember a time when you know, felt love or gratitude for a friend or a person, and then remember another moment, and then remember another moment. So it's like three moments, and every day I do it. I don't always go to the same one. Some days I have like a run where it's like for 5 days in a row, I'll remember, you know, the same thing, and it's wonderful, right? It's just juicy. And then I've been doing it recently, and last week I noticed how little gratitude I walked through my life with for like the first third of my life.
Wow. Same.
Yeah,
Same.
like
Ouch. Well,
like
I didn't have awareness. I didn't
right.
know. I was kind of numb zombie survival mode.
Yeah.
Same for you?
Like I was not walking through like today my experience. So I'm gonna get all choked up because it brings so much more presence to my life. So
Same.
losing my kitty cat, you know, my precious girl 2 years ago. And I still have two kitty cats.
Hmm. Hmm.
And every time I pet them and I hold them, I'm so grateful. Like you know, because I can't, you know, I can't hold her. I can't touch her. You know, I have little videos and that's great. But now I spend moments with my kitty cats and I'm like deeply present with this experience right now. And, you know, another one for me was, I had a cold about a week or two ago, and and before I knew it was a cold, I was just feeling like crap. I was like, you go through menopause and it's like things change, and I was like early stage of this cold, and I just was like driving, and I was like, I do not feel well. I
Uh-huh.
just had this awareness, like I do not feel well, and I started to get afraid, like, am I
Well,
never gonna feel well again? You know,
exactly.
it's when we get close to
Losing something.
losing those things, the
Hmm.
preciousness. Yeah. And now I'm
Hmm.
feeling better. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, just I want to appreciate my body's ability to hike and walk and hug and play. And yeah, so I gotta pull myself together over here.
Well,
You talk.
it's interesting that you said
Yeah.
that because until things get slippery and
Yeah.
possibly you could lose, or
Yeah.
you see it could go away, or you see the possibility of it not existing, whether it's the being or the doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wake the hell up moments. My brother and I were talking last night. I was visiting him in the hospital and we were talking about travel. He and his wife, big world
Mm.
travelers, and just the love for travel and experiencing other cultures and people and all these things. And so he had all these stories. We were just telling all these stories, which is so fun to do with people. And by the way, we need to do that more. And then I pivoted the conversation into future travel, right? It's challenging for him for right now to see out the other side of this
Yeah.
moment, this
Yeah.
healing crisis. It's a moment. I have had big illness healing crises multiple times. You've experienced these things in big or major levels with your own life and body. And so when you're in it, it's hard to be like, boy, am I ever going to feel good enough again to get that back? And so, of course, we will.
Mm.
If we believe, then we will, because
Mm.
that's what happens in my experience and what I witnessed, right? So, like future planning of trips. So then we started future planning of all these trips. Well, where do you want to go? Well, what about this? What about that? And he's telling me, you got to go. You got to go do that trail and do this and that. And I'm like, you got to go. Maybe we'll go together. Oh, yeah, yeah. If you could ride your bike across any state or country, where would you ride your bike? You know,
Mm.
he's a huge cyclist, like all of
Mm.
those things. And then you just feel the human and even myself like coming to life, like, yes,
Mm.
that's in my future, that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, the world goes a little bit dark and we don't see those opportunities. We get fearful that they are limited or fleeting, or that
Mm.
our relationships might terminate. Eventually all relationships terminate.
Mm.
That's the cycle of life,
Mm.
right? And we've talked before on this show about having awareness and gratitude, which is the first part of this conversation. We're up to our eyeballs in now, around you don't have forever to be
Mm.
with that person, to be in this particular health state, to be in this particular place, time, or experience. And so
Mhm.
if your eyes are not wide open and your ears are not wide open, in other words, put the damn cell phone down.
Yeah.
Calm the hell on.
Yeah.
Take the earbuds out. The
Yeah.
people that are walking around in that state are so disconnected
Mm.
from the real world,
Mm.
from the other humans, and from themselves. It's just, it blows my mind. It blows my
Yeah.
mind. We've
You
got
know,
to stop this.
along the lines of, I love what you're saying about, future presencing yourself to, hope and,
Mhm.
bouncing off of creating gratitude for like the hope that you can have to, not more than hope, but like the inspiration of going somewhere and doing new things and feeling back great in your body again and stuff. I read this thing that was like, this guy on this podcast, I think, was talking about how we never know when something is the last time for something.
Ooh, no, we don't, do we?
And it was like, he's like, I used to be a skier, ski, whatever. And he's like, and then one day I couldn't ski anymore. And he goes,
Mm.
I never, if I had known the last time I was going to ski was going to be the last time I was going to ski, I think I would have been different.
And you would have never gotten off the mountain, by the way. They're like peeling you off the mountain. You're literally like getting in the last run and you can barely stand because your quads are so, and you're like, I'm going.
Yeah, yeah. And yet we,
Or swimming in the ocean. Just the idea of like never again swimming in the ocean, never again skiing, never again getting on your bike. I keep bringing back the bike thing because my brother's a big roadie, right? So I'm like, we're setting up your bike in the garage on the bike trainer. I don't
Mhm.
care if you do it 2 minutes. So excuse me, 2 minutes a day. I don't actually care if you just sit on the bike. To
Mhm.
be clear, like it is part of you. It is part of who you are.
Yeah.
It's
It'll
gonna
remind him of what he's capable and who he is. And yeah, yeah.
exactly. And then working back towards those things. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, I'm not blaming Western medicine, but there is in some instances a problem with Western medicine where it does bring on limiting beliefs
Mm.
from the doctor, the environment, the whatever
If we
society
let it, if we let it. Mm.
into the conversation, into the space. You can decide to receive that and take it on as your truth, or you can decide not to.
Mhm. Thank you for
That
your
wrong.
opinion, but I will not be
Exactly.
thank you for your opinion, but I will
Don't
not be
we know
accepting. Yeah,
through
I
the
will not be
menopause
accepting that
journey?
diagnose.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
gosh,
don't accept.
or dude, just through our aging and menopause journey.
Yeah.
How many people have told me, hey, your running days are just over. You're like, you should just, who in the hell? Do you have any idea who you're talking to? You are so confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
You absolutely shouldn't be talking to me this way.
No.
But also, please don't talk to anyone this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I will decide my own future in life. And excuse me, person in a lab coat, you will do the same.
Mm.
I'm
So
giving you grace to do that. You give me grace to do this.
yeah. And I think it's helpful to share gratitude and how it shows up for us and how we embody it and view it, So I
Mhm,
just
mhm.
described, my morning routine. Like I said, decades of my life, no gratitude. Like, I was just sleepwalking through life. I wasn't conscious. I just thought I was a human being in a body and I had a personality and I had no connection to anything else. And now I do. And so gratitude gives me that presence of um, preciousness of life. And, honestly, it was funny. This is a weird little side note, but I did a mushroom journey. I did mushroom healing, just experiences, but not like doing mushrooms at a party or something like that, but doing psilocybin in a, set and setting that was designed for therapeutic purposes. And so on that journey, I got this experience, man, of like going into nothingness, like
Mm.
becoming just like what maybe we become when we die, which is connected to all things. Like I had no body and whatever.
You
And
were
it was,
just energy. You were
I was
just
just,
energy.
yeah. And it was just sort of like this. And the only way I can describe it is kind of like this, like black nothingness, but I felt fine. Like I felt there was no resistance. There was no form. There was no light. It was just like, and then all of a sudden I was able to come back into my body. And I was like, oh my God, I really enjoy being in this body. Oh my God, I really like the tactile. Like it just was such an appreciation for what this human fucking experience is, like getting to have a body and touch people and see light and see beauty and feel pain and all these experiences. It was like I get to do that when I'm a blob and I'm like formless,
Mhm.
shapeless. I don't get those experiences. And so I'm like, I want to just stay in this body as long as possible and touch all the things and, you know,
Touch,
yeah,
touch.
see all
That's
the
such a
things.
critical thing to bring up is the touching of ourselves, like I work on my feet, I whatever, all the things that are
Mm.
aching and paining, da da da. I work on others and touch others, so do you, right? So like that amount of like touch and connection with ourselves and other, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad
We
that you
won't
brought
have
that
that
up.
afterward. I mean, we'll just all be connected in oneness. And instead, like we have the ability to feel all the feelings, you know, and I wanted to weave into this a little bit when I think about gratitude. Where this started for me was my you know, study of Abraham Hicks and that body of work. And that's where my morning routine came from, was out of there
Okay.
in a morning routine. And I just one of the kind of like, and I don't have the exact words, but it's like appreciating all of it, right? So one of the things that helped me understand us as creators is, so they describe a three-step process. You ask, you so wait, ask, receive, and allow, or something like that, right? So it's you ask for what you want. Like you have a moment of, gosh, I'd really love X. Your brother right now is deeply asking for his health back, right? You know, I want to feel well in my body. I want to feel vital and alive. And then you receive, like the energy comes to you, and then we have to allow it in. We have to receive it, right? Ask and then receive. Asking is given, you know, in some biblical forms, whatever. But it's like what Abraham has said is like the asking often comes out of the contrast, right? So when we ask, it's like, I don't want that. You know, I have disease in my body. I don't want it. I ask for wellness, right? So it's the actual disease allows me to create wellness. It allows me to ask. It allows the creative process, the
Mm,
generative process of what we are here for. So when we shit on, we negate, we resist things that show up in our life, we're actually not understanding the whole process. That is when we create more. That is when we create and step into what could be. You know, it could be as simple as like, you know, I want a new car, you know, that could be an ask, or I want a better job, or I want health or relationship or whatever. Those are often birthed out of the contrast. I don't have a car I want, I don't have a relationship I want, I don't have the love that whatever. That's when we ask and we generate as an energy being the potential, right? And then we have to allow it in and align with it, if you will. So when we negate whatever's showing up, we're like, wait a minute, this is the process. You know, like this is how we came to be creators. Hello.
don't resist the suffering.
Ah.
So I
Well,
see,
suffering is optional. So there's
yeah.
resistance, and then
Well,
suffering is the story we
pain,
tell ourselves. Yeah.
pain, discomfort, whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
There is definitely part of that receiving and healing journey. Emotion, this is emotional, physical, this is mental, all the things, where more so than ever, but this is historically what a lot of humans have done, is they have numbed that feeling and avoided that feeling and
Yeah.
done everything to circumnavigate and get the hell away from
Avoid pain,
that,
pain, pain. Yeah. No pain.
right?
Go
And
through life, no pain.
yeah, which is impossible. We're humans. We're humans. It's so messy and so chaotic, and there's all the things happening.
Mhm.
And what you're saying is allow that to come in and through, so the opportunity for solution and healing and something different to be there.
Because I also think so what you just said prompted me too. So as you know, I've had this big project that I've taken on, got a lot of workload and things going on. And it's not where I want to be ultimately, you know, like it's a transition period. And you know, I bring order to chaos. So there's a lot of chaos. And I'm like, fuck chaos. There's so much chaos. You know, I just want it to be ordered, right? Like that's my creative process. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for, part of my gift. But I sit now and what I appreciate in the gift of the resistance that feels like this shouldn't be happening. Why is there so much chaos? Is like, wait a minute, this is what I'm here for. And so like, I'm here to do this. So if I resist doing it, that's silly, right? Like that's part of my
Yeah.
gift. If I didn't have chaos, if there wasn't chaos in the world, I couldn't bring order to it. Like it would just be like, how boring, everything's
You'd
already
be
done.
bored.
I feel like everything's already done. Instead I'm like, I'm in it. And so I feel like this push-pull inside of me, like, God, this is so screwed up. And then I'm like, yeah, but I really like fixing it. And then, so it's this moment to moment application of what we're talking about, of like gratitude and like, you know what, I'm learning a ton and I see where the problems are and I'm going to smooth them out and I'm just going to iron this all out, but not being like, if I hold my fist and I hold my stake into this sucks, I don't open the doorway to the resolution, the solution, things getting better, the health coming back, all those things.
So you segued very nicely into the second word of
Mhm.
this particular podcast, which is grace. And how I define grace for myself and what I witness in the world is a not bumping into
Mhm.
things. So coming up against that resistance. Sure, we bump into other
Yeah.
people's emotions, ideas, things that are not as we'd like them to be, but we can continue to just bump into them until we're so calloused and pissed off and
Mm.
all the misery is there. Or we can be like, oh, let the resistance go, accept what is, and do our part to either be part of a solution, a change, or not, by the way.
Acceptance. Yeah.
Pure acceptance. Well, that's how things seem to be here. Now I can choose to be here or not. I'm going to choose not because I'm not into hanging out in these environments. They're not good for me
Mhm.
and my physical, mental, spiritual health. So I'll be doing something different now. But
Mhm.
just accepting what it is and then moving on. I
Mhm.
just like, to me, that's grace. Walking around in the world holding that state, and you have some definitions that are maybe a little bit different, but that's how it is. For me, it's not bumping into things, having more love and acceptance and hope
Mhm.
and
I'll
humanity.
read I'll read one of them. So it's a disposition to or an act of or instance of kindness, courtesy, clemency. And we're like, clemency, I haven't heard that word in a while. So
Yeah.
clemency, let's it be clear. There's one definition. An act of leniency or a disposition to be merciful.
Wow. With self
Right?
or others.
Exactly. I mean, I think that if we're not merciful, clemency, whatever, kind to ourselves, compassionate to ourselves, we got no business. It's like you can't give away what you don't have, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
Mm-hmm.
people often, I think sometimes we find when you get into Eastern medicine that oftentimes the diseases that are created, like a cancer or autoimmune and things like that, is people are not being, let's say, merciful or compassionate with themselves. They're giving, giving, giving. It's like all this stuff outside is happening and giving, and they're storing dis-ease in their body.
Unprocessed
Yeah,
things,
yeah, yeah. And
emotions.
so often I think that cancer can be, there's some beautiful things, we didn't do a lot of research before this, but I've heard some things about how cancer is often comes into a person's life to give them opportunity for reflection. And it's like, we were talking about like, you never know when your last is, right? Well, people think this thing called life goes on forever. And it's like, well, if we just give you this thing called cancer, you might, if you survive it and you do some things to take care of yourself, you get more time, right? You get that extra window. But it's often a wake-up call, like now is the time to learn some things, learn some new behaviors towards self, new emotional states, let go of the stress, whatever has been causing this, whatever's been bottled up, maybe you need to let go, therapy.
That goes for any disease in the body
Yeah.
or in the mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, inside this human body that we've all been gifted, it's really a delicate balance,
Mhm.
right? It's a delicate balance.
And I see
Also,
you, yeah,
go ahead.
God. No, I just see you, the grace that you have, one of the things we've talked about sometimes is like growing ourselves to be a big enough container,
Mm,
and I'm doing a visual right now. I'm like, if you could see me, I'm opening up my hands, like imagine, widening, like if you had a little bowl and you got a bigger bowl and you made a bigger bowl and then a bigger bowl. It's like the capacity to hold space for whatever's happening. Like you and I as coaches, we have to have that capacity to
Mhm.
hold someone that's in turmoil or tension or trauma or whatever's going on or just, they're frustrated or whatnot, so it's holding that space. And I think it's also giving ourselves that space and grace to allow things to be and to flow and to work out of ourselves. But okay, you had another thing you wanted to say, please.
Well, on the grace conversation, I've been bearing witness to a lot of grace.
Mhm.
So I like to walk around in the world being, and offering grace to others, but being graceful with myself too. Like there's days right now where I have a big load of work travel, family responsibility travel, and then I'm training for an Iron Woman. So talk about offering myself grace on the daily, right? I can be
Mhm.
super crazy cray and be like, I have a training program I must be following, doing all these things. I have to finish this race, right? So I can be adding that additional pressure onto myself, or I can be like, wow, life right now is a little complicated and I have limited time and energetic resources.
Yeah.
So it's going to be what it's going to be. And on
Mhm.
the daily, and literally, I do this probably a couple times a day at this point, I'm adjusting my schedule and my routine and all the things that I love so much. I love schedules and routines and plans, right? So I'm having to be offering myself so much grace around being flexible, being
Yeah.
open to what is, and just accepting that, okay, well, today I can get in a 45-minute run, not a 3-hour training that
Yeah.
I had planned.
Mhm.
Or I'm here and there. So there maybe is a pool, maybe there isn't. Sometimes I have my bike, sometimes like the amount of just having to constantly adapt and be flexible is me offering myself grace
Mhm.
continuously throughout the day. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Grace to the self is really, really important because if I don't have grace for the self, how can I offer it to the others around me?
Mhm. Mhm.
I would operate instead from a very restricted, rigid place that would be full of anxiety and fear and all these things. And I refuse to go out into the world like that. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't do that to myself.
Yeah, I think there's just tones that we can have in life, and there's different phases and seasons too, right? There's seasons of your life when not so much is going on or not much caretaking or whatever. And when we resist the life that is happening, we're in it, that's happening around us, to us, we care to be a part of. I mean, you could just blow your brother off and go train the shit out of, your day. You can be like, I've given enough time here. See you, bye. I'm gonna go, that could be the tone that you're in, right? And nothing against whoever, whatever is going on for you. It's us deciding what the fabric of our life and the unfolding of the path, how it's going to be, and that's the choosing. It's, very values based, I would say, right? So what's important to you?
Exactly.
You have high values of family and people and connection and community and things like that. You also have a high, moral standard for yourself of like being disciplined and excellence and pursuing these things. And it's that juggle, right? And
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
it's like you said on the daily, it's looking at what is life presenting to me? Let me check in with myself and my values. If I went this road and I did this, if I just left and, went and got on my bike for 3 hours and I didn't spend this a quality time or whatever, how would I feel? Like what is grace allowing me in this moment to choose? Like and be recognize that it's a choice. It's not nobody's, whipping you. And so you're not a professional athlete. It's not like, oh, you got this, financial
Right.
commitment or something. It's like it's designing a life that feels good for you in the unfolding of it.
Hmm. Hmm. And when I have those big blocks where I can commit to this insane training regiment, which I'll be leaving this weekend, and I will buckle down for 48 hours of endurance hell, basically. I mean, I'm wanting that to happen. I'm about it,
Yeah.
but like I will be all about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a shifting of gears. It's which is also aligned with my values. The other thing I want to say about race is watching and witnessing over this last week, all these caretakers coming in and out of the medical spaces. So, we're going to physical therapy, and then we're going to doctor's appointments, and then we're sitting in chemo, and then we're going to the ER, and then we're going into like we're going to all these places. So I'm seeing all these people coming and going. And of course, I'm interacting with them, and my brother's interacting with them. And the amount of grace that he operates in this, he's in pain, he's suffering, And he's literally just like this open container, like you're saying, to receiving and being present with these people. What's the nurse's name? Who is this doctor? Having real conversation and contact. It's so cool to watch and witness that. And then of course I get more inspired to be that way too, when you're around those kind of people. But then each of these is an individual human coming into our life. Even it's for 1 second, the guy who was at 4 a.m. cleaning the room my brother was in. Okay, he's working in a hospital setting, and at 4 a.m, his job is to clean the floors, right? Like he's a human being also doing his role and seeing people for who they are at that moment, looking them in the eye, making connection, having gratitude, like all of that is so incredibly beautiful and amazing. And my brother and I were laughing because I have a thing for coffee, as you're well aware of this. And so one of the things I do in the world is I travel around and I go into communities and I go seek out that small little coffee shop with the local coffee owner. And if they're roasting beans, even better, and whatever. And then I have to talk to the people. Who owns this coffee shop? What's going on here? What's the story? And my brother's like, what in the hell? But that's
who you
what
are in the
I
world.
love to do. Yeah, because I have that curiosity, but I also like it's coming from a place of grace. Like I want to understand who they are. I want to experience them in their space.
Yeah.
I want to be graceful when I walk into somebody else's home, whether it's their business or their actual home or their workplace. I feel like I'm a guest in the space.
It's just so two things I was thinking, and I want to remember to come up back to Asheville and the hurricane that happened. But as you were saying that, I used to. So what I was thinking as you were talking is like we can blur through life. You can just kind of, like
Mhm,
false to the wall. Just like life is a blur. It's just
mhm.
going. And I know a lot of moms out there with all the responsibilities and the choosing that they do to support their kids and all, driving them around and all that stuff. Life can feel a blur. And what I'm loving that you're saying is the slowing down. There's a whole slow movement, right? Slow down life, slow food, slow your life down. That can maybe not always be achieved, but in the moments when you can be slow enough, like you said, it doesn't take a lot extra. I was giving blood this week and I was like talking to the ladies and, one was in training, I'm sitting there, I've got 10 minutes, but just not just like, oh, let me just get on my phone and, get into this world that has nothing to do with my life, right? Like these people are in my life.
Exactly.
They're sticking needles in my arm and stuff. And oh my God,
Exactly.
right? And how was your day? Well, it's been kind of quiet. We're really glad you're here. I'm like, well, I'm really glad you're here, and and talking like that. And so the
You
other
know what
thing,
you create when you do that, and you have a huge awareness around this, but for our listener, is a level of intimacy and connection with that other person. And what I have repeatedly seen, and this is why probably I'm such a diligent practitioner of this, is their energy shifts to
mm,
meet mine. So maybe they were head down grinding. There was a nurse that was coming out in and out, and she was a little bit like a bull in a china shop.
yeah,
And she was really rough,
because I got
rough.
a lot to do. And yeah, the ER and those ICUs and stuff.
I
It's
get it. But she's literally like yanking him around and all these things, and he's in tremendous pain,
yeah,
right? And she's trying to
yeah.
put the IV in and do all these things. And then there's just this intensity to her energy. And I was like, whoo, we got to breathe this down a couple notches,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what's your name? And they just start a conversation, create space for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
whomever, the
Yeah.
barista, the nurse, the whoever,
Yeah.
the person driving your Uber right now, to come down and be with you
Mhm,
and
mhm,
just allow, like you did with when you're giving blood, like, hey, I see you. Let's
mhm,
be together in this moment
for
and let's
sure.
just do this thing. How can I help you?
The other thing, as I was saying, so in your world, when we were starting to connect about this topic, is a lot of space and gratitude and grace with your brother. Like that's what you're witnessing. And, other than what I talked about, my internal grace moments back and forth of this chaos that I'm turning into an order, I've been intentionally putting my eyesight on Asheville and giving it love, and the people that are just wrapped up in that whole destruction and things that happen there, and just what I choose to watch are not these CNN reels of like this many miles of water and dirt and stuff. I'm like, I watched this one YouTube video. This reporter and her crew flew in for 96 hours, and they captured the people on the ground, like kind of like the old school stories of like what's happening for these people and in their lives, and at the human level, like I mean, seeing people rescuing people out of roaring floods and rescuing dogs and
Strangers, perfect
yeah,
strangers.
people driving from Ohio to with truckloads of food and barbecues to cook as much food as they can and water, people without water for days and stuff. It's just amazing. I mean, in that there's so much that the context is poised for grace and gratitude. And I think that is one of the, sometimes I don't love the word human and humanity because I feel like we can find extremes of that aren't graceful and worthy of gratitude. But in this, it's such a beautiful context to say, look at this is what humanity can be. This is what's possible when we work together and we care about each other. It's not just you're just a person on the street and I'm not going to pay attention to you. Like people that don't say hi to me on the street, I'm like, I'm freaking you. I'm like, I like they look down and they look away. I'm like, hello over there. Like I just want to say, like, I'm
Yeah.
not drowning or something, but and I don't need you to talk to me, but I just want to send you love. I just want to connect
Mhm,
with each other.
mhm. Well, you know, the impact you can have in those so just like fleeting moments, right? Somebody who opens the door for you. It's like a second transaction,
Yeah.
right? But how it can be a real
Oh,
big thing. You don't know what somebody's experiencing. I mean, Asheville is an extreme story, and I know you were there recently and you have a friend or a couple of friends that are living there. So this is really fresh for you. Like when there is a crisis,
mm,
it's so cool. And this is the only media you should be consuming, by the way, when you see humans coming in to support one another and what is possible, like you said, from that place,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
It's all around us if we are aware, and that's what we choose to put our eyeballs onto. And also, it inspires us to do the same,
Mm,
right?
absolutely.
So it inspires us to be better people in the world when we see, oh, this is how you respond to crisis.
Yeah.
This is how you respond to war. This is how you respond to suffering. This is how, oh, this is what we do
Mhm.
as a humanity.
Modeling grace. Yeah. And
100%.
compassion for
Or
each
for
other.
your
Yeah.
kids, for your kids.
Oh,
You're going to
totally.
whatever, soccer game in school and all the things. What do you want to teach your children? How do you want them to be in the world? Are
Yeah.
they going to be part of that movement and part of the solution for us to all heal and move forward? Or are they going to be part of the problem because that's what
Mhm.
you possibly are modeling, or it's what they're witnessing online, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera? Breaking
And
those down.
the other thing I just want to introduce, and I don't really know where this goes, but I just got it as a little download, is like accepting grace also, right?
Receiving.
Receiving grace. I think
Mm,
we, moms and people just on the go or over giving, like the overgivers or the people pleasers or the, oh no, I'm fine here, take care of you. Like receiving grace, right? Receiving people's compassion, receiving small acts of kindness or help or whatnot, right? Instead of
mhm,
just
mhm.
letting it go or no, not for me. I'm fine, just allow that as well.
Yeah, I actually just had that conversation yesterday with my nephew, who's also a cancer survivor,
Mm,
about his uncle, my brother, and just talking through his own experience. And he's incredibly, he's just amazing. But he survived his own journey. But we were talking particularly about my brother's always been this sort of strong, take care of everybody else, do all the things, you know? And this is a moment in his lifetime, probably for the first time, where he has had to be open to receiving and really is learning how to do that.
mm,
And it's amazing to be part of that. And you want to just continue to provide that space for him, for me, for you, for all of us to be receiving what is out there for us. You know, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, we've been bosses, all the things, we've had all the jobs, right? But just because we have those skills and capabilities
mhm.
in the home environment or the work environment doesn't mean we always need to be in that role.
True,
Other
true.
people deserve opportunity to be in those roles, and we
Yeah.
can step back and be like, Oh, yes, you should
Uh,
definitely make me dinner right now. I would love my feet rubbed. Okay,
Right.
what else you got?
Well, and I think it's, I think the universe loves when we acknowledge it and we say, "Oh, thank you for that." Like I'll just talk about for a moment of serendipity because I've often said I have good travel karma, right? Like the gratitude I have and just how I go
You
on
do.
yeah, good
It's
travel karma.
amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I have said after, seeing so many years of all my good travel karma, I'm like, hey, I want to have life karma. I want to have good life karma, right? Like how can I be a little bit more aware of and dancing in whatever good flow that I'm in traveling in my day-to-day life? And so I think that part of how that happens is recognizing it when it does happen in your life. So here's a
Mm,
little tiny funny story. Or I hope it's a little funny micro moment. So I'm remodeling this building, right? And just picture the corner of a building, right? So there's like where the sides come together, and on the left side there's an old door, and for some reason they want to move that door to the right side of the building, just like right around the corner, like boop. And this building happens to sit next to, of all things, a locksmith shop, right? So this is a
okay.
commercial building. And so we're trying to remove the old lock that was on this door. So we're installing the new door, and it's like, oh, okay, now we need to transfer the old lock to the new lock, right? Installer's like, I can't get it off, can't get it, it won't work, whatever. I'm like, oh, dang. Locksmith happens to walk out. Kid you not, who walks out.
I
Yeah, I was like, do you know, I was like, I just felt like a silly question. I was like, can you pick a lock? He was like, oh my God, let me get my tools.
da 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 da
He was
came
like super
flying in.
excited. He was like, oh, what's that, this thing? I mean, in like 15 seconds, he had unlocked that lock. I was like, yeah, check you out. I was like, I like praised him for it. I was like, have you been picking long? Like, how did you learn how to be a locksmith? Just like
Mm,
joy going to him and in this
mhm.
moment. And he's like, "Da, da," and I said, yeah, we're going to move this lock. He's, "Oh, no, you can't put that ugly lock next to my locksmith door. I'm going to give you a new one." And I was like,
Oh,
you go right ahead, dude.
that's awesome.
So I
That's
know that's
awesome.
like silly, but like in that moment when that was happening, I was like, this is like good travel. This is like my good travel karma. Like this angel has just showed up to say, no, let me help you. And I wasn't like, oh no, we got it. I was like,
Mhm.
what do you want to do here? Oh, you have some part to play in this? It seemed like it was like, oh,
Of
this
course.
is
Yeah.
unfolding. Let you have grace for what you are here to do in the world. And by all means, do it.
Right?
Yeah.
I think these things happen every day, all day long. And if we have our eyes open and our ears untethered
And hearts.
and hearts, we will see them and we can say yes to them. And then when we do that, we then turn around and spill that back out to the next person. It's just like this momentum. It's this wheel of life, really, that
Oh,
this is what gratitude
and
and grace is a wheel. And
and
we're
that
just turning the wheel.
at that moment happening, I get to share it and people hear it and they go, "Oh, where else can that happen?" And it grows and it feeds the world. It feeds our hearts. It feeds our energy. It becomes more in the world instead of
Yeah.
smaller, less scarcity, whatnot. So, yeah. So that's my story on that.
I don't know what's our one thing going to be today, but we're coming to it. You got a one thing? I like the idea that you put out, and we were doing this differently. You were talking about a practice of
Mhm.
gratitude, asking the questions. Maybe you
Yeah.
want to assign some homework to the audience.
Well, it could definitely be, a couple things. One
Okay.
thing, so I would say if you don't have a gratitude practice, like it's, one of the first things that I start with my clients with is like you have a morning routine, and one of those elements is, so for me, I'll just share, mine is it's a prompting of remember a time when and it could be different things that you're grateful for. Remember a time in your life when you had a special moment, something you're grateful for, right? Remember another one, that kind of prompting, if you will, and just allow the mind to bring up the database of what things for my, and I just find that how that sets the tone for my day and how it can set the tone for your day is just where you want to be starting your day from, right?
Mm, I
Yeah,
love that.
how about, and so yours is more of like in the moment, like slowing down and taking a breath and taking in what's happening, it seems.
Well, I'm going to give the grace homework because you gave the
Oh,
gratitude.
do it, do it.
And my grace homework is stop bumping into things.
Well, they're gonna bump
So,
into things, but don't
well,
resist the bumping, or maybe.
bumping in the first time is called life. I'm
Yeah.
talking about dink, 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 dink. Right. So Stop the resistance cycle that might be going on
Mm,
in the small micro and the big macro things in your everyday life,
mhm, mhm,
and allowing some grace there,
mm,
which means letting go of the resistance, right? And being open to receiving and love and acceptance of what
mm.
is. That's my homework assignment.
Yeah, and I'll tag on to yours, which is one of the things that has helped me. And I've said this in another podcast we did, but it's the prompting. I wonder what's trying to happen here, you know?
Mm,
So it just
mm,
gives space to what is happening here, like this chaos in my work and your brother's life and stuff. I wonder what's trying to happen here. And we can just stay open, right? Instead of this shouldn't happen. The story we tell ourselves about what is happening is how we feel about it, right? Instead of
totally.
I wonder. So be curious. So love it, lady.
Okay. That
Good
was
stuff.
good.
Yeah. So what
How
do
do we
we
want
want
to
to?
close?
Yeah, please let's remind them of what we always remind them of.
Yes, yes, yes. How your life feels is more important than how it looks.
Every day is your opportunity to find your awesome. Bye,
Okay.
guys.